Okay, we're here in Las Vegas with Mike Williams, our driver, and I've been giving lectures on the consequences of the real estate bubble, and one of the areas that I've talked about most was Las Vegas. I've talked a lot about North Las Vegas because the size of Las Vegas has actually doubled in the last decade, and most of it has been expansion in single-family homes, a lot of it out in North Las Vegas. But in downtown Las Vegas, they've been putting up all these hotels and buildings, and I've been saying that they're not going to be able to fill these things, that they're overbuilding. And everybody was telling me I'm nuts and stuff. Well, here we are in front of, this was called Echelon. Mike, can you tell us a little bit about Echelon here?
Echelon was a Boyd Gaming Group project, and they've put it on hold, and we're told 3 to 5 years now before they start rolling it open again.
Okay.
And they stopped work a little over a year ago, and about 2 months ago they put a coat on the steel so it wouldn't rust. So they do have the intent to finish the project, and it stands the way it is right now.
Now there was something about the bank pulling funding and stuff like this.
Yeah.
This had some funding problems and some disagreements in the partners that
and
were
again,
involved.
that got to the economy. So there's always a disagreement among partners, and what direction should we go? And again, they were faced with that decision: should we stop or should we just keep on going?
And so this goes way back here, and then it goes all the way over to the Strip. So now tell us about there's a blue building standing behind part of Echelon here.
Right, that's a Fontainebleau project, and that was a hotel out of Miami, I believe, and they went bankrupt. And that was just before the bankruptcy court hearings was bought on a stalking horse bid. So they do intend to go forward with that project, and it's 70% complete right now.
Wow. Okay. It's 70% complete, and they've put it on hold for how many years? 2?
At least 2.
At least 2. Now, I believe the economy is probably going to roll over 2 years from now when they're planning on getting back to this thing because they think the economy is coming back. I think they're going to make the decision to let that sit and let it sit empty. I'm also told that over at City Center, one of the biggest projects, isn't that one of the biggest hotels on the planet, City Center?
Yes, it is.
It's
what? 2 hotels and another 5,000 condominiums.
Wow, 5,000 condos. And there's towers there where they've got and I was saying this years ago, that some of these buildings that they're building, they're going to skin them over and make them look finished on the outside, but they're not going to bother finishing the inside for another 20 years. And so then right over here we can see a couple of cranes.
Right, that's part of the Venetian Hotel and Casino.
Okay.
And they were building another tower of luxury suites for the Venetian and put that on hold indefinitely.
Indefinitely?
Indefinitely.
And they leave the cranes on top, so the Venetian has this skeletal steel structure out in front of it with cranes sticking up, and it may have that for several years to come. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for the information. Now you're going to take us to some other locations where there's unfinished real estate going on in Las Vegas. Okay, great. Thanks. So here we are on the other side of the Fontainebleau. We get a little picture more of the front of it, but what's interesting, I find, this side shows it's more unfinished over here, and there's a bunch of windows that have been broken out of it that have plywood boarded up over it. And then we don't know what the structure is next to it, but all of it is just sitting here. And it's not going to be worked on for quite some time. You were saying 2 years, right? At least 2 years. But will they even be able to afford to finish this in the coming economy? That is my question. And if they do finish it, is anybody going to come and gamble in it and stay in it and fill it up? Personally, I don't think so. I think a lot of these places are going to sit empty and unfinished for many years to come. But then again, you never know how long a bubble is going to run. Back in 2005, I was thinking that Trump wouldn't even get his place finished back there before the bubble popped. But the bubble kept on going and going and going, and it just surprised me. But, that's the way bubbles are. You just can't predict how long they're going to go. We were just in Singapore, and we put out a video called The Next Dubai. and we showed the scale of the real estate bubble that is going on all across Asia, down coastal China, through Singapore. The bubble never stopped in Australia. New Zealand is in a bubble. But the construction that was going on in Singapore and the construction that is going on in coastal China, they don't realize that Las Vegas is a preview of what is to come in the next 3 to 5 years in those areas. All of these buildings here that are where they've just stopped construction, buildings that are skinned over on the outside, but there's nothing, it's a skeleton on the inside. In the next 3 to 5 years, you know, when the markets roll over here, I've said this many times before, when the markets roll over here, all the world's stock markets are now trading in lockstep. So when the US markets roll over and go down, so does the rest of the world. When that happens, the economies will slow down in China and all across Southeast Asia and into Australia and New Zealand. And when economies slow down and go into recession, then all these bubbles that they're in right now are going to pop. There's just every place on the planet, it seems like there's craziness going on that's caused by the expansion of currency supplies all over the planet. It's transfers of wealth and borrowing prosperity out of the future on the backs of bonds, which the taxpayers have to pay back. They borrow that prosperity out of the future and they spend it today on these crazy building booms. In Las Vegas here, there's going to be nobody to fill these buildings for, I think, at least a decade. So, and this is the preview for Singapore and China.